Once upon a time, in a quiet industrial town, there was a young man who had just started working at a large factory. He was full of energy, eager to learn, but still inexperienced. Fortunately, he was assigned to work under the guidance of a senior technician, an older man highly respected by everyone in the factory for his dedication, skill, and calm demeanor. The old technician wasn't a man of many words, but when he spoke, his words were full of wisdom. One of the first lessons he shared with the young man was, "Speak less, do more. Always focus on your task, and never stop learning, no matter how small the job. Above all, never stop improving your skills in every area of the work." The young man took those words to heart. Over the years working beside his mentor, he silently observed, absorbed knowledge, and perfected every task. He spent extra time after work learning more about different aspects of the factory operations, even those outside his immediate responsibilities. Gradually, he became someone everyone could rely on, precise, patient, and thoroughly skilled. Time passed quietly. 10 years went by in the blink of an eye. The old technician retired, and the young man, now a grown adult, took over his position. He continued working with the same attitude, quiet, focused, and deeply committed. He believed firmly in the idea that if you work hard and do your best, success would naturally follow. But over time, a heavy sense of frustration began to grow in him. He started to notice that younger, less experienced co-workers were being promoted, receiving pay raises, and getting recognition from management. Meanwhile, he remained in the same position, earning the same pay as before. Despite his hard work and dedication, it seemed as though he was invisible. Carrying a heart full of confusion and disappointment, he went to visit his retired mentor, hoping to find some answers. When he finally sat down in front of the old man, he could no longer hold back his frustration. "Teacher, I followed your advice all these years. I worked hard, learned everything I could, stayed silent, and stayed focused. But nothing has changed. Others, who know far less than I do, keep getting promoted. I don't understand, why am I still stuck here?" The old man listened quietly, his eyes full of empathy and a tinge of sadness. After a moment of reflection, he asked gently, "Are you sure you've become indispensable to the factory?" The young man nodded confidently. "Then," said the old man, "you need to take a day off. For any reason you choose. It's time to give yourself a break." At first, the young man was puzzled by the advice. He was always committed to his work and had never considered taking leave simply to test something. But the more he thought about it, the more it made sense. Perhaps he had been so present and dependable for so long that his value had become invisible, taken for granted. He applied for a day off. During his absence, the factory descended into confusion. Small technical issues that he usually resolved with ease now became major disruptions. No one knew how to handle the situations he used to manage effortlessly. The following day, when he returned, the factory manager immediately called him into the office. He praised the young man's contribution and informed him of a promotion to senior technician, along with a raise and better benefits. Walking out of the manager's office, the man felt deeply grateful to his mentor. "So this is the secret to success," he thought. "Let them feel your absence. Then they'll recognize your value." From that point on, whenever he felt unappreciated or overlooked, the young man would take a day off. Each time, his absence would disrupt the workflow, and each time, his return would be met with renewed praise or reward. This approach seemed effective until one day, everything changed. After taking yet another day off, he returned to the factory, only to be stopped at the gate. The manager informed him, coldly, that his employment had been terminated. There was no prior warning, no chance to explain. He was stunned. Everything he had worked for crumbled in an instant. He felt betrayed and abandoned. Not knowing what else to do, he returned to visit his mentor, hoping for an explanation. "Teacher, I did everything you told me to do. I worked hard, and when I wasn't appreciated, I took time off so they would see how important I am. Why was I fired?" The old man slowly shook his head. His eyes were full of compassion, but also firm with truth. "You only learned half the lesson," he said softly. "Half the lesson?" The young man echoed in confusion. The mentor looked deeply into his former student's eyes. "You see," he said, "no one pays attention to a light bulb that's always on. It's only when it goes out that people notice it and realize how important it was. You understood that part, but you missed the second half." The young man leaned in, beginning to realize his mistake. "What's the second half?" The old man continued. "If a light bulb goes out too often, people will eventually replace it with one that's more reliable. No one wants a light that they can't depend on." The words hit like a wave. In his eagerness to prove his value, the young man had become unreliable in the eyes of his employers. He had crossed the line between making a point and making a mistake. "The key," said the mentor, "is balance. Yes, don't let yourself be taken for granted. But don't make yourself someone people can't count on either." The conversation ended in silence. The young man walked away, heavy-hearted but enlightened. He was no longer angry. Instead, he began to reflect on himself, on the errors in his thinking, and on the narrow way he had applied the lesson. He realized how often he had stayed silent when he should have spoken up, how he failed to communicate his value in healthy, constructive ways. He had relied solely on absence as a strategy, without building relationships, asserting his presence, or taking ownership of his growth. He learned that hard work is the foundation, but not the whole structure. One must know how to show value, build trust, and maintain consistency. Recognition doesn't always come automatically. It must sometimes be earned through more than just quiet diligence. Though he had lost his job, he had gained clarity. And from that clarity, he rebuilt. He began anew, with a better mindset, more balanced, more aware, more emotionally intelligent. This time, he wouldn't just be a light bulb that burned silently in the corner. He would be a reliable, trusted contributor, someone who knows how to shine without burning out or disappearing. As the two men said goodbye, the mentor offered one final thought. In life, you have friends and loved ones who are always there for you. Don't wait until they're gone to realize how much they mean. Appreciate them now. Likewise, don't let yourself be taken for granted, but also don't become someone people can't rely on. Find balance, and life will return that balance to you. Balance is the key. Between showing up and stepping back. Between humility and confidence. Between dependability and self-respect. The secret to success is not found in being constantly present, nor in strategic absence alone. It is found in wisdom, knowing when to shine, how to shine, and how to build trust over time.